What's up everyone, Nick here, and today we are going to be mounting Frankie, my Brachypelma vagans, Molt, however you want to pronounce it, and so let's go ahead and get this started. So as you can see here, we're just going to start from the beginning, and I am going to turn on the sink and get some warm water ready to go. I'm going to fill up a little cup with warm water and a little bit of dish soap. So let's go ahead and get that water filled in there. Not too much, it doesn't have to be anything too crazy. Go over, get some dish soap, put it in, and actually I have found that putting the dish soap in after the warm water is actually a little better because you can mix it in, have a little less in terms of bubbles. I go ahead and I'm going to put the mold into the cup and put it in there. It's a little big, a little on the big side. Got to kind of gently nudge that, convince it that that's where it wants to go, that mold. Yeah, just put that down. Go on, get in there. All right, so that looks good, right? Okay, and now that we have let the molt sit and soak for a little while. I think I let it soak for about an hour, and looks pretty good, pretty softened up. Now, of course, there are going to be a few problem areas that I can already see, but we will go ahead and deal with that as we can. We're going to want to try to get this molt out and try to make it look about the spider. If we can just set it down, that'll be really easy for us to reposition. And we're just going to go ahead and set that down real nice and gentle, and it's a pile. Whoops, definitely not what I was intending. So we're going to go ahead and straighten this molt up, and I am actually going to turn on my microscope. Now, I'm not exactly 100% convinced that the microscope was as necessary as I thought. I thought it would be cool to have a couple different angles, but we're already so close on the molt that it's almost not even worth it to put it in there. But whatever, we're putting it in there. It's kind of cool. It's got a few little zoom ins, and we'll see what we do in the future with all of this. All right, so we are going to, I'm using bobby pins to just go ahead and straighten all this out. I found, you know, the regular bobby pins with the little plastic beads at the end usually seem to work well, although I can't say that it's my favorite method. It's nice, but that sharp point sometimes can get you into trouble, so just something to watch out for. Also good to put it on styrofoam so that way I can actually keep it on what I'm mounting, and it would be super great to get rid of that little hair. There we go, just get that on out of here. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and we're going to straighten the mold out, at least to the best of our abilities. It looks a little better than it did at the beginning when we just kind of plopped it down. So I'm just going to go in here. I want to try to separate out the legs a little bit, as they seem to like to stick together when they get wet with Dawn dish soap. Soapy water. I guess it doesn't have to be Dawn, but you know, Dawn, safe for ducks, safe for everyone. All right, so we're going to just go ahead and we are going to really just, we're trying to go for a base. Like, we're not looking for anything super particular yet, but we just want the outline, almost to say. We just want to get the legs somewhere in the general scope, get these fangs all fixed up, and the bottom, this butt, the abdomen, as some people would call, get that straightened out. We're going to try to separate that thin layer. Now, this has been getting easier as Frankie, our vagans, has been getting older, but man, is this such a thin layer. It's very difficult to try to get out. And then, of course, a lot of times those rip. That could have been me who ripped it. It could have been the tarantula as he was molting out of it. Who knows? Pretty sure this is a confirmed male, and oof, dumb, stinking microscope getting in the way, falling down constantly this whole time. All right, so I'm really gonna try to work the top part of his butt, which we'll go with for now for the ease of not listening to me try to cringe at myself saying the butt's technical name. So the top part is definitely the hardest. The bottom is useful. You can tell in the bottom, right around here, is where the place is going to be where you're going to want to check when you're sexing your tarantula in the molt, which is the only way to really get the accurate sex of your tarantulas through molts. But anyway, you can tell one way or another. Pretty sure he's confirmed male. I haven't triple checked, but at this point I've done a couple and we're pretty good. These tarantulas as males, from what I've been able to tell, actually do live a decent length of time. So still fine, him being a male. But yeah, this actually is a little more difficult than I originally anticipated, and I think we're just going to have to go ahead and tear off the top part of the bottom of the butt, just to make things easier all around. Everything's pretty solid from here. Now, to stuff the bottom part of the tarantula, we're actually going to use a cotton ball, and I'm just going to go ahead and color that in with a Sharpie. We're just going to snip off a little piece. We're going to get out the Sharpie and just start coloring that in. And actually, I'm not entirely convinced that a Sharpie is the best method either. As you can see, it's getting fuzz all over the Sharpie and my fingers. So not super in love with that, but what can you do? Here it is, all finished up. At least what we're going to use. We're going to ball that up, and we are going to just set that on in. It doesn't have to be a black Sharpie, it can be whatever, but if you color it, a lot of times that'll help the molt look a little more complete if you're going for that tarantula view. Now, my molt is not 100% perfect, but we'll get into it as we go ahead. So I'm just gonna go ahead and set this down, and it's gonna mess everything up that I've done so far. So let's go ahead and just get that fixed. That's generally about as good as I'm going to be able to get it. Not in love with it, but larger tarantulas are easier to start on, and we're just gonna keep on trying until we get better. Practice makes perfect, right? So we're gonna go ahead and I'm gonna just adjust this a little bit and get the top head piece over here. Let's go ahead and this is not really exactly working the way I want it to, so we're going to get tweezers in and just very gently place the head piece down on the tarantula, the carapace, I should say. And we're just going to kind of adjust this, generally speaking, to try to make it work. This mole actually had a couple little splits and things that made it not exactly line up, but it looks fine. It's fine. So let's go ahead. We're going to try to straighten up this top little piece of the molt of his butt. And it's not very pretty. It's, you know, I kind of did all right, but it's all twisted up, and I really didn't want to make it any worse than it already was, so I kind of just settled for good enough. I'm hoping as I have bigger molts, maybe I can get a little better practice in, and then when I start getting smaller molts, maybe I can find better tools to get it all adjusted. I know if you straighten it out in the water first, it makes it easier, but for me, in my experience, as soon as I pull it back out of the water, it all collapses in on itself, so take that for what you will. All right, so we're going to go ahead and go through, adjust, do some adjusting, and then we are going to use Super Weld Professional Grade Super Glue, which is overkill. Just first of all, it's overkill just because you don't need super glue. Second of all, horrible decision, as my dummy little self does not realize, but this does not dry clear. And of course, oh, look at me, little blundering sweetie getting all over. No, Nick, stop. I'm trying to like rub it away and it's just making it worse. No. I like can watch it after the fact and just like cringe at myself for wiping more glue all over the tarantula's molt, but that's okay. We'll just keep on going. We're gonna readjust some of these legs, and actually this is probably one of the more fun parts, is getting in here and just really setting up how you want your tarantula to mold, how you want your tarantula to look as a finished product. As the molt dries, this will harden up and you actually won't have to worry about the placement, but you just need to set pins in there to do an initial placement of how you want everything to look. Then you give it a day or so and the molt will dry out and it will keep that shape. So you just need to secure the carapace onto the material you're mounting it on, and that's basically it for after you're done letting it dry. But we're not quite there yet, so let's go ahead and get these pins in. We're just going to be adjusting the legs, just trying to make them look like they're some kind of general format. And yeah, we just want to get this set up so that the legs just look pretty good, you know, out and about, stretched out like a tarantula. I actually have thought about eventually trying different poses with the molt, so I think that would be really interesting. But I also find, you know, I take a lot of these molts to work with me, so I try not to make the tarantula look too menacing, as most people are already not keen on spiders as it is. So I don't want to be taking a bunch of scary looking molts in to work and showing people. It's all about educating and showing people that tarantulas, insects, and arachnids in general are not as bad as what they appear to be. So it's just an understanding that you want people to have. So you don't want to scare them with a scary pose or anything. Of course, scary poses are really cool, especially if you appreciate the tarantula itself. And so I'm just going to go in here and drop a pin. Great, amazing, wonderful. Let me just kind of scoot this out, get that out of here. Okay. Now we're better. Now we're back. Alright, so we're going to set this leg. Some of these legs are actually, the placement's pretty decent, but I'd like to just put the 2 pins in just to make sure that there's no craziness or anything like that. It's just going to settle out exactly how it's going to be. And pardon my shaky hands. I always have shaky hands for some reason. I don't know if you can tell as well here, but definitely throughout the video I've seen my shaky hands shaking all around, so I don't know what it is, caffeine or whatever, but I always have a tendency to have a little bit of a shake. But anyway, so once you get all those pins set, really you just need to dry it. But since Frankie's molt is big enough, we're going to go ahead and turn this around and get ready for some hardcore shako vision. The position of the camera, not exactly ideal, but it is showing the part that I want it to. So it was a weird balancing act, but I just wanted to get in here to for Frankie's molt, I wanted to pull out the fangs a little bit so that way you could really see, especially now that Frankie's starting to gain some decent size. And it's crazy, as I'm moving the fangs, sometimes the molt actually looks like it comes to life, which I kind of just appreciated going through when I was editing. But anyway, so we're just going to go through, we're going to put that pin in, put in the second pin for the other molts, which isn't quite working going through that side, so why don't we just come in from the other side? It really doesn't matter how these pins are going in, they just need to hold everything in the right place. So we'll go in, put that in the center, and voila. It's not perfect exactly, it's not exactly a symmetrical mount, but it looks good enough for me. As you can see, in its wet form, this is going to be, we're just going to let this dry overnight, and then once it has dried, we're just going to attach a little bit of glue down to the bottom of the carapace to keep it on the foam, and we can remove all of these pins. So let's go ahead and see what it looks like when it's dried. Alright, so I went ahead, I already had taken it to work, so I went ahead and gotten my phone out to show the molt as it is dried out, and it looks good. I'm really pleased overall. Now the butt, abdomen, bottom, whatever that I want to trip all over, that, you know, definitely could use some improvement, but in general, the legs, I think, look good. The fangs look really good. My complaints are, of course, the butt doesn't look amazing, and the carapace has that huge white streak. Ugh. But other than that, I think it looks really good, really nice. It turned out well. Probably would give this molt about a 7 out of 10 if I was being real with myself. It's not a horrible molt, but the glue drying white I'm not in love with, and then one half of the tarantula looks kind of like it's moving with its legs up, and the other half is like all the legs are down. So that weird inconsistency for me throws me off. It's like some OCD weird thing. But anyway, I really like the way this turned out. I'm definitely going to be doing more of these in the future. So thank you very much for tuning in, checking this out. Hopefully, as we go on, we're going to keep getting better. I've got plenty of tarantulas to mount molt, so as they get bigger, we will do more. And I think that this is a great start. I've done a few mountain molts before, but this mounting of molts before, but this one's the first one that I've really enjoyed. You know, minus the few minor things here and there that will get better in time. So thank you all again for watching. I really appreciate it. Sorry for the inconsistency in posting. I want to be posting weekly. I want to be shooting for Thursdays, but sometimes it's out of my hands with work and everything. So really appreciate you all for watching, and I will catch you all again in the next video. And yeah, so yeah. Yeah.